health and peace and happiness for everyone. Ashreinu, how good and beautiful is our heritage. Parashat Mitzora, Tafshin Peibet. Sometimes you can hear two Jews arguing, discussing the question, is the halacha minimum or maximum? What do they mean? One says the halacha is a minimum. You have to keep it. That's not all of Avodat Hashem. There's much more that you should be doing. And the other one will say, halacha is the maximum. If you keep the halacha, that's it. You're done. You don't have to try and do any more. It's good enough that you do that, and that is absolutely fine. Why will Parashat Mitzora, how will Parashat Mitzora give us an answer to this question? Not only Parashat Mitzora, all of the Parshiot, Shmini, Tazria, Mitzora, these Parshiot deal with Tum'ah v'Tahara, purity and impurity. And we find in the words of the Torah that when a person is impure, the Torah says he purifies himself. He must purify himself. Berachatzu b'mayim v'tam'u ad ha'arev. They should bathe in the water, meaning a mikveh, and they will be tameh, impure until the evening, and then they will be pure. The wording of the Torah is a directive. It's not an option. If you want to be pure, then you can do A, B, and C. No, the wording of the Torah is a directive, it's a tzivui, it's a commandment. Verachatzu b'mayim. But halacha lemaaseh, we don't find any demand that a person who is impure must purify himself. How is it that the Torah gives a command to purify yourself, and in the halacha, we don't find any such obligation that a person who is impure must purify himself? So it seems that this is because of the difference between Bnei Israel in the Midbar and what happens after the Midbar. In the Midbar, Bnei Israel are concentrated around the Mishkan. Everything has to do with the Mishkan. And whenever they have to do something, they have to come to the Mishkan, they must purify themselves. Let's give another example. When they were in the journey in the Midbar, if they wanted to eat meat, they had to bring it as a korban shlamim in the Mikdash. Once they were in Eretz Yisrael, it's not realistic that every person, wherever he lives, whenever he wants to eat meat, is going to have to come to Yerushalayim, to Beit HaMikdash, and bring a korban shlamim. So you find in Sefer Dvarim that the Torah relates to this issue, and in the Midbar they had to bring a korban shlamim, and in Eretz Yisrael they have to do a kosher shchita, but you don't have to bring the animal as a korban shlamim. So the same thing here. In the Midbar, they had to purify themselves. It was a directive, it was a tzivui. If a person was impure, they have to purify themselves. For generations, later on, when Am Yisrael lives in Eretz Yisrael, when a person comes for Aliyah LaRegel, or if you want to bring a Korban Todah or a Korban Nedava, other times when a person comes to the Mikdash, you have to purify yourself. You do not have to purify yourself when you're not coming to Beit HaMikdash. And what we see here is very interesting. The Torah is setting a very high bar. We should be pure, we should be holy, we should be living around Kedusha. But at the same time, the Torah is being considerate of human needs. The Torah understands that we have to go to work, we have to live our lives as human beings, as families, as couples. And all of this is part of what the Torah takes into account. So the Torah says, halacha lemaaseh. The bottom line is that halacha lemaaseh is you don't always have to purify yourself. And at the same time, the Torah is saying to us, this is a high bar to strive for. Try to live up to values of purification, of holiness, of kedusha and tahara. On the one hand, the Torah is being considerate of human life, saying this is valuable. Also, being a human being, having normal, healthy lives, that is part of what the Torah appreciates and recognizes, and at the same time strive to get as high as you can spiritually and in holiness. So I would say, yes, the halacha is a minimum. This is a minimal demand. At least do this, and that's good, it's great, it's terrific. But if you can strive for more without making little of human lives, of being a normal human being, if you can at the same time strive for more, that's even better. So here is something great that we learn from the Parshiot of Tum'ah and Tahara in the Torah, including this week's parasha, Parashat Mitzora. Shabbat Shalom.